Chapter 596 Dual Cultivating. Huro Yuao was stunned as he looked at Long Xiaya. He's clearly bursting with energy. However, why is he just like teacher just before he passed away? What's going on? Yi Shishui was also a little stunned as she looked at Long Xiaya. Xiaya, are you fine? Are your injuries okay? Long Xiaya shook his head and replied, this small wound is nothing. I'm fine, Yuao. Both of you are also here to deal with the Sun Moon Empire's army, right? Huro Yuao nodded. There was nothing for him to hide. Long Xiaya smiled and turned his head to look at Yi Shishui. Shishui, I can't help you if you want to harm these two kids. I own Yuan too much. It's just like how I owe you. That's why I can't harm his disciples. After hearing Yuan's name, Yi Shishui's entire body shook. Her originally sinister and cold-looking eyes revealed an extremely complex look. She squinted and turned to Huro Yuao. This is the second time. There's no third time. When I see both of you again, I'll definitely kill you. Xiaya, let's go. As she spoke, she had already leapt up. After this, she flew into the distance. Long Xiaya didn't immediately chase after Yi Shishui. Instead, he looked at Huro Yuao and Tang Wutong with a gentle look in his eyes. Both of you have set a precedent in human history. However, don't be too arrogant. There's still a long way to go. Though both of you do have some abilities, there are many types of destructive forces in this world. You'll need to face them in the future. That's why you should take the time to cultivate more. Yuao, when you reach rank 98, come find me at Radiant City. There's something your teacher has left for both of you. As he spoke, Long Xiaya stood up and retrieved a black crystal stone before passing it to Huro Yuao. As long as you are in Radiant City, use your soul power to activate this stone. I'll find where you are and come to you. I'm leaving now. Shishui is only here to vent her anger. Given her identity, she wouldn't keep attacking the Sun Moon Empire's army. After all, the Holy Ghost Church's base is still in the Sun Moon Empire. I don't know what she's going to do next. Both of you must be extra careful. Since she said that she'll deal with both of you the next time, she'll not go back on her words. Furthermore, both the Sun Moon Empire and Holy Ghost Church are determined to get rid of both of you, especially you, Yuao. Your presence has already made Shrek Academy much brighter than it's supposed to be. That's why you must be prudent and careful no matter when. Thank you for your concern, Elder. Huro Yuao respectfully bowed to Long Xiaya. Long Xiaya waved his hands. A sorrowful look suddenly appeared in his eyes. He sighed before he drifted up and chased after Yi Shishui. He instantly disappeared. Tang Wutong stuck out her tongue as she watched him leave. She said, these ultimate Douluo are indeed very strong. We're still very lousy compared to them. What Elder Long is hinting is that we've become a little inflated after we've become transcendent Douluo. At times, it's better if we cultivate. Come on, let's start now. Huro Yuao was a little annoyed. There's such a beautiful view here, but we're going to cultivate. Won't it dampen our mood? Tang Wutong chuckled and said, when we first entered the academy, who was the one who cultivated tirelessly and was unwilling to waste even a second? Don't tell me you are becoming lazy. We have a heavy responsibility on our shoulders. I'll carry half for you in the future, but you'll still need to carry the other half. Come on. All right. Huro Yuao leapt towards Tang Wutong immediately. Purplish gold light suddenly flashed, and a huge dragon head blocked him off. Huro Yuao screamed tragically and flew more than 10 meters away. What are you doing? He lay on the ground, extending his limbs and complaining to Tang Wutong. Tang Wutong revealed a sly look on her face. My father's seals don't seem to be fully gone. That's why. After half a minute, both of them sat cross-legged on the grass. Their palms were clasped together and they entered cultivation. This was their first cultivation together ever since they became transcendent Douluo. And after Tang Wutong formed her second soul core, after their Hadong power formed once again, they were able to cultivate using their martial soul fusion again. Before, they had used such a method to grow stronger and stronger. The interaction of their soul power in a fight and during their cultivation was completely different. Huro Yuao's whirlpool-like soul power poured into Tang Wutong's left hand through his right hand, and Tang Wutong's whirlpool-like soul power poured into Huro Yuao's right hand from her left hand. When their soul power poured into each other's bodies, their bodies shook, and bright lights shone from them. A golden sun and blue moon, as well as another golden sun and purplish moon, appeared at the same time. The golden suns were slowly getting closer to each other above their heads. After this, they fused together, and immense spiritual energy shot into the sky. A beam of strong golden sunlight tore the night sky apart. It was like a bright golden beam that held the sky together. The blue and purplish moons also shone brightly. Huro Yuao and Tang Wutong's bodies started to become clear and transparent. It was even clear that 4 soul cores were rapidly revolving inside their bodies. The whirlpool-like soul power in their bodies kept on circulating. The blue and purplish moons slowly drifted in between both of them, while the suns were above them. The two moons fused together just like that. The moonlight turned bluish purple, and it was very bright. In the air, origin energy of heaven and earth surged towards their bodies. After surging into their bodies, it was crushed and filtered before it fused with their soul power. In just a day, Huro Yuao and Tang Wutong's soul power had completely transformed. It felt brand new to them now. It shone with a strange glow, which was a combination of blue, purple, and gold. Those 3 colors intersected with one another to produce a strange yet dazzling radiance. After this fusion, their soul power was also a few times stronger than it was before. Every whirlpool had a strong suction force, absorbing the origin energy of heaven and earth into it. Should we run? Huro Yuao and Tang Wutong opened their arms at the same time. After this, they both held onto each other's hands and concealed themselves in the night sky. They had no choice but to flee. They were so close to the Sun Moon Empire's army. Who would have expected them to create so much noise just by cultivating? What were they waiting for if they didn't flee? At least they had to find a cave before they could cultivate again. Their Hadong power was still joined, but what they found weird was that their soul power retained its original state. Their whirlpool-like soul power was still very strong. It was the result of their enhancement. However, the radiance that had appeared during their cultivation earlier had disappeared. The suction of air had also disappeared. What's going on? Tang Wutong asked Huro Yuao. They were telepathically connected. Huro Yuao naturally knew what she was asking. I don't know either. Huro Yuao was a little helpless as he answered. Don't tell me that the soul power we generated during our cultivation is already beyond the restraints of this world. Tang Wutong shook her head and said, I don't think so. It might have been so before. However, it's clear that our abilities are still too weak after I witnessed the darkness Holy Dragon's power earlier. I believe our fused soul power is barely at the realm of an ultimate Douluo. I don't believe it has exceeded the restraints of this world. Huro Yuao said, I don't understand what's going on either. The only explanation I can think of is that our fusion is only perfect only if it's completely silent. We can't use that radiant whirlpool-like soul power to fight. It's only an alternative method for us to restore our soul power. Let's try more. Even if we can't use it to fight, it's still not bad to increase our recovery speed. Both of them flew very far away and found a dense forest to hide in. Tang Wutong blew open a cave with her dominant aura, and both of them went inside. They were very excited by this new discovery. They were still quite traumatized after they were subjected to pressure by the 2 ultimate Douluo earlier. Their thirst for power appeared once again. This time, it was unprecedentedly strong. Huro Yuao used a few branches to cover the opening of the cave, to prevent any light from shining out. In a short while, a small cave took form. Huro Yuao held Tang Wutong's hands as they stood in the cave. Let's focus our energy and try again. Let's see whether we can enter that state while standing up. All right. Tang Wutong nodded. Their hands were connected once again. Their soul power circulated in their bodies. The golden suns, blue moon and purplish moon appeared once again. After this, the radiant whirlpool started to glow once more. The difference from before was that their fusion was more rapid this time. Furthermore, a dazzling, spinning halo appeared around them after this fusion. Both of them felt that their soul power was being restored very quickly. It then started to slowly increase after reaching the peak of their restoration. While slow was a subjective term, it had to be noted that it was very difficult for transcendent Douluo to increase their abilities through cultivation. However, their soul power was slowly climbing. This meant that they could cultivate their abilities in such a state. Their cultivation speed was even faster than most ordinary transcendent Douluo. As they looked at each other, they could see the excitement in each other's eyes. They knew that they had found another way to improve. While this couldn't be directly used on a battlefield, it was still very beneficial to them if they wanted to last in a fight. As long as they had a little time to rest. They could recharge and restore their energy at the fastest speed. They managed to fully tap into the advantages of having yin-yang complement soul cores. Both of them quickly entered a cultivation state. Their 4 soul cores fused and intersected. As they resisted one another, brand new soul power was unleashed once again. Their cultivations were also increasing dramatically. Originally, forming yin-yang complement soul cores had already given them the potential to experience significant improvements in their cultivations. Tang Wutong had also managed to form yin-yang complement soul cores with Hua Yuao's help. This was unprecedented. Furthermore, most of Tang Wutong's spiritual power in her spiritual soul core came from Hua Yuao. She had absorbed, transformed and turned his spiritual power into her own spiritual power. This made their spiritual power even much more compatible. This was also why they had no problems fusing their martial souls, and once again generated Haodong power. Of course, their Haodong power was far stronger now than it was before. While they were threatened by the death god Douluo earlier, Hua Yuao was in fact not afraid of her at all. What he was afraid of was that Long Xiaoyao would do everything he could to help her. Ever since he had interacted with Long Xiaoyao, he became more and more curious about him. His abilities were undoubted, given that he was also from the same generation as Elder Mu. It wasn't even overboard to say that he was the strongest human in the world right now. However, why was he willing to be used by Yi Shishui? Since he could make his name along with Elder Mu, it also meant that his character wasn't too flawed either. Well, this was what Hua Yuao felt, at the very least. Moreover, Elder Mu had also mentioned that he was helping him. However, Hua Yuao realized that his help for Yi Shishui was always unselfish every time he saw him. It was definitely not a formality. But why is this so? Is he being controlled by her? Impossible. When Long Xiaoyao and Elder Mu made their name, Yi Shishui wasn't even so strong. So why could she control Long Xiaoyao so easily? It's really ridiculous for an ultimate Douluo to be under this kind of restriction. However, if this isn't the case, why is he listening to her? This doubt kept on racing in Hua Yuao's mind. This was why he didn't dare to take the risk. Against the death god Douluo, he and Tang Wutong wouldn't be at too much of a disadvantage even if they couldn't beat her. However, things would be different if Long Xiaoyao got involved. They might not even have an opportunity to escape. This was why Hua Yuao was very careful. He didn't even reveal his morning dew dagger, because he wanted to only use it at the most critical of times, when they had to escape. Fortunately, Long Xiaoyao didn't hurt Yi Shishui. Yi Shishui even chose not to attack, and left because she was giving Long Xiaoyao face. This also left Hua Yuao and Tang Wutong relieved. However, their thirst for strength also grew because of this incident. Their earlier satisfaction and perhaps arrogance had ceased to exist. To fight ultimate Douluo, it was paramount for one to become one too. Long Xiaoyao's advice was indeed golden. Hua Yuao and Tang Wutong quickly entered cultivation. Their soul power was around rank 95 now. They had just become transcendent Douluo. However, this wasn't really anything major. It wasn't the crux of the problem. Given their cultivation speed, Hua Yuao was completely confident of raising his soul power by another rank. In less than 2 years, they would be at rank 98. This was the major benefit brought about by their yin-yang complement soul cores. I wonder what teacher asked Long Xiaoyao to pass to us when we reach rank 98? Hua Yuao was actually very curious. This was because Mu En didn't mention this when he had helped him form his twin soul cores. This was why he was feeling rather anxious in his heart. If Elder Sun knew the Dragon Emperor Douluo, he would have immediately told Hua Yuao that the Dragon Emperor Douluo was lying. The reason was very simple. This was because Elder Mu had really passed away, and his soul had dissipated. If there was anything he had left for Hua Yuao, he would have told Elder Sun before he died. It was a pity that Hua Yuao didn't know all this. He was still thinking of finding the Dragon Emperor Douluo after he made a breakthrough, so as to find out what was actually going on. As time passed, Hua Yuao and Tang Wutong's soul power was increasing under their mutual influence. Cultivation didn't affect Hua Yuao's sense of the outside world. His immense spiritual power naturally formed a spiritual force field. This force field spread, and even the path connecting the Sun Moon Empire and that mountain valley was engulfed within it. Sun Moon Empire Army, Commander Tent. 2 days had passed. Ever since Yi Shishui had attacked, 2 days had passed. She didn't appear again. However, her single appearance had already left all the soldiers traumatized. She was too strong. The two of them had managed to resist the Sun Moon Empire's linked offensive attacks, and even almost destroyed their linked defensive soul tools. What kind of power did they possess? 2 ultimate Douluo were actually so terrifying. It was beyond everyone's imagination. Not many soldiers had been killed, but the surviving ones were under a great psychological burden. Because of this, many of the advanced tier soul engineers had not even smiled for 2 complete days. They finally realized the truth now. They finally understood how strong the Holy Ghost Church was. In terms of higher-end combat strength, they were still the best in the Empire. News of the attack had been sent to the capital. However, it seemed to have disappeared. No news was transmitted back. It seemed like Shu Tianran had given up on them. Is it a lesson for us? Juzi muttered. 2 days were enough for her to think through many things. If the death god Douluo was relentless, she wouldn't have used such a method. Even if she cared about face a lot, she could just use her light of the death god when our defenses are at their weakest every day. If she wanted to use brute force, the army would continuously suffer damage, and we'd keep on living in fear. It would be almost impossible for us to chase after them too. However, she didn't so. This means that she's still very concerned about the Holy Ghost Church's position in the Empire. She won't do anything anytime soon. It's just that I don't know what they're up to next. Juzi was very unsettled. She was even more willing to face the violent Yi Shishui, rather than not face her at all. No matter what, I must destroy the Holy Ghost Church. Otherwise, there won't be any peace in the Empire in the future. When she thought of the strengths of the 2 ultimate Douluo, Juzi couldn't help but shudder. In the future, this empire would belong to her son. How could she tolerate outsiders in the Empire? With them around, the rule of the Empire would be greatly influenced. Son, don't worry. No matter how difficult it is, I'll help you get rid of these obstacles. Juzi was immediately inspired to fight when she thought of her son. Her earlier cowardice disappeared. To a mother, she wouldn't fear any enemy if it was to protect her own kid. Report. A frantic voice shouted. Juzi calmed down a little before saying, report. The Empire's reinforcements were attacked outside the valley. All of them have been killed. When we arrived to help them, there were only corpses. All their resources have been taken to. What? Juzi was aghast. She looked horrified. What have you discovered? The messenger lifted his head. After hesitating for a moment, he replied, there are traces of spectral creatures. Our aerial surveillance soul tools also discovered something like a bone dragon flying into the distance. The aura of spectral creatures has also been left behind. The 1,000 soul engineers that were sent to help have all been 1,000 soul engineers. Even if they were from the reserves, they were still trained by the Empire. With the help of these 1,000 soul engineers, she could replenish everything she had lost at the front lines. How could she not be enraged now that everything was gone? However, she also felt a little weird just as she was enraged. This was because she knew that Yi Shishui's attack had ended, and her attack was already enough to strike fear into her troops. Why did she attack again? The Holy Ghost Church was the prime suspect because of the spectral aura. Unless Juzi thought of something and immediately recalled the magical dimension. Yuao, is it you? When she thought that Hua Yuao could be nearby, Juzi started to become more energized. Her earlier rage also disappeared. If Yuao is responsible for this, that explains it. However, no matter who did this, I'm going to put the blame on the Holy Ghost Church. There's no lack of opportunities to deal with them. One such opportunity has arrived. Send an order to gather all the Legion and Vice Legion commanders in the commander's tent for a meeting. Yes. Juzi squinted. Since there's such a prime opportunity, don't blame me for being vicious. If I don't use this opportunity well, I'm not fit to be the War God Empress. Holy Ghost Church, be prepared to incur Shu Tianran's wrath. As she thought, she quickly walked to her desk and started to furiously pen a letter. After a while, all the Legion and Vice Legion commanders had gathered at the commander's tent. There were even Class 9 soul engineers from the worship hall. Seeing that Juzi was writing something, they all stood there quietly. No one uttered a sound. Juzi had taken punishment as the marshal of the entire army. The death god Douluo even arrived to attack her. These things made all her commanders very respectful of her. How could they possibly not follow such a leader? Even though she was a little young and a lady, she was still a perfect leader, considering her successful track record and responsible attitude. After waiting for around 10 minutes, Juzi finally finished writing her letter. When she lifted her head again, her eyes were already red. It seemed like she was holding tears in. Marshal, what's going on? What has happened? A Class 9 soul engineer asked, astonished. The other soul engineers and commanders were also perplexed. It was also their first time seeing Juzi like this. They couldn't understand what was going on. When did she become so fragile? What happened such that she was acting like that? Juzi didn't say anything. She bit her index finger and stamped the letter with her own blood. All the commanders were astonished when they saw this. A blood letter. What is she doing? Juzi slowly stood up and walked forward. Her body was shaking. Her tears were already flowing uncontrollably. Commanders, worshipped, I've let everyone down. Her tears flowed. Juzi shut her eyes in pain. The Class 9 Sol engineer who had spoken earlier anxiously asked, Marshal, what's going on? No matter what, we'll stand on your side. Quick, tell us. Juzi took in a deep breath and tortuously answered, I've received news that the Sol Engineer Legion that the Empire sent to reinforce us has been wiped out. They were killed not far from the mountain valley, along the path they had to take to retest from the Empire. 1,000 Sol Engineers were killed, their souls were taken away, and our resources have been looted. She added the line their souls were taken away. What? Exclamations echoed throughout the entire tent. Suddenly, all the Sol Engineers and commanders opened their eyes wide. The astonishment in their eyes was slowly turning to rage. Juzi shut her eyes in pain. From our aerial surveillance Sol tools, we discovered bone dragons fleeing the scene. At the same time, the aura of spectral creatures was also left behind. Bone dragon? These two words were sufficient. Not long ago, Douluo was riding a bone dragon as he fought Huo Yuao outside Shrek City. Eventually, it had died at Huo Yuao's hands. Bone dragons had appeared once again. Everyone knew what it meant. Bastards. One Legion commander roared and clenched his fists so hard that they almost broke. His Sol Engineer Legion had lost many men, and he had been awaiting reinforcements. Suddenly, he became overly agitated. Juzi bitterly said, I've already written everything regarding this incident down. I'll immediately send it to His Majesty and implore him to take action. If this continues, our morale will certainly be affected. While our soldiers at the front line are killing enemies for the Empire, we are being stabbed in the back. How can we continue to fight and contribute to the Empire if that's the case? Everyone, I'm afraid my position as your leader is about to end. I've already asked His Majesty to allow me to resign. In the future, I hope all of you can continue to assist His Majesty and share his burdens. As she spoke, Juzi lifted her hands and removed her helmet. She turned around and walked to the front of the tent before putting it down on her desk. Marshal, you must not give up on us. A Vice Legion commander cried sorrowfully before he knelt down on one knee. Yes. Marshal, we need your leadership. Only you can lead us to rule this continent. When the first person kneeled down, a second person started to do the same. Along with their hate for their common enemy, all the commanders kneeled down immediately. Even the worships bowed down to Juzi. Seeing everyone like that, Juzi wiped away the tears in her eyes. Her expression started to turn sinister and cold. I thank all of you for your support. Please rise. After hearing that Juzi's voice had returned to normal, all of them stood up once again. They focused all their attention on her. There was a strong killing intent coming from Juzi's eyes. How dare the Holy Ghost Church kill my soldiers? We cannot exist in the same world as them. Commanders, if we want to contribute to the Empire, we need to rid ourselves of any dissidents and kill these despicable and vicious Holy Ghost Church members. It's only through this that we can save our Empire. Who is willing to write a blood letter to His Majesty along with me? I'm willing. The commanders were all united. After they were subjected to Yishishui's attack, their rage and displeasure at the Holy Ghost Church were replaced by fear. However, when they heard that 1,000 Sol engineers had been killed by the Holy Ghost Church, their suppressed rage immediately erupted once again. Many of them left their blood on their letters. At the same time, they also left their own signatures. This completed a blood letter. Juzi said, pass my order. The army will proceed in the direction of the Empire. We'll coordinate with His Majesty to get rid of the Holy Ghost Church. It's only by destroying the Holy Ghost Church that we can continue to expand the Empire. Yes. We'll listen to your orders. When these commanders left their blood on their letters, their fates were tied to the War God Empress. The Sun Moon Empire's army started to disassemble their Sol formations, while the Beast Lord ranked Sol Engineer Legions took turns to watch out for any dangers. The entire army then proceeded in the direction of the Sun Moon Empire. Juzi's letter was immediately sent out. At the same time, the news was passed on. However, it wasn't to Shu Tianran. It was to the worship hall in Radiant City. The worship hall was the true backer of the army. As he watched the army proceeding in the direction of the Sun Moon Empire, Huo Yuao immediately realized that Juzi was exploiting this situation. It was almost time for him to find her. A grin appeared on his face. This was an opportunity he could not forego. Huo Yuao concealed himself in the void along with Tang Clan. He immediately unleashed his spiritual detection to check the path in front of them. As they rapidly got closer and closer to the Sun Moon Empire's army, in the sky, all types of aerial surveillance Sol tools were moving along with the army. At least 2 Sol Engineer Legions were flying in the air. These 2 Sol Engineer Legions were responsible for surveillance and protecting the army. Only the members of the Beast Lord ranked Sol Engineer Legions had the ability to fly. This was why they were naturally responsible for guarding and patrolling. These Sol Engineers were helpless against Huo Yuao and Tang Clan. From afar, Huo Yuao had already found Juzi using his spiritual detection. While Juzi was out on the battlefield, she was still the Empress. This was why she took a different sedan from the other commanders. She had her own sedan. 16 horses were responsible for pulling it, and the Fire Phoenix Sol Engineer Legion was responsible for guarding it. Huo Yuao led Tang Clan as they softly landed on her sedan. Tang Clan let go of his hand said, go in. I won't go. She might disrupt your plan if she's hostile towards me. Huo Yuao chortled and said, you are indeed an understanding lady. Tang Clan was a little unimpressed by him, and replied, if I were really understanding, I should let you marry her too, right? No. It's difficult to handle too many beauties. You are enough for me. I'm going now. His invitation covered a sufficiently large region. This was why Huo Yuao wasn't afraid of Tang Clan being exposed. With a flip, he silently made his way into the sedan. The sedan was very large. In fact, it was an extremely comfortable carriage. There was almost 10 square meters inside. There was a desk, a chair, and even a bed. Right now, Juzi was the only one inside. She was thinking silently. Gentle spiritual undulations spread, sealing the entire sedan. No sound from inside could be heard outside. Oh. After realizing that something was amiss, Juzi subconsciously lifted her head. She looked at the space in front of her, which was empty. Are you here? She asked softly. How did you know it was me? Huo Yuao asked, a little stunned. He wasn't surprised that 2 ultimate Douluo had found him. However, it was illogical that Juzi was able to discover him. With her abilities, she shouldn't be able to discover him when he used his imitation. Juzi smiled and said, instincts. I knew you would come. That's why I asked all my servants to leave. I was waiting for you, and you indeed came. Huo Yuao silently surfaced and sat on a bench in front of Juzi. How are you? I've not seen you for some time. Huo Yuao asked a few meaningless questions. Although he had isolated all sound within the sedan, he shared everything that was happening with Tang Clan. One reason was for safety. Secondly, he was afraid that Tang Clan would be jealous. Of course, the latter reason was more important. Juzi snorted. How am I? How can I be well? I'm not fine at all. Should I hate you, or thank you? Huo Yuao smiled and replied, of course you should thank me. Whether it's you or Shu Tianran, both of you want to get rid of the Holy Ghost Church. Am I right? It's just that neither of you have found an excuse to. This time, I'm delivering an excuse to you. Shouldn't you thank me? Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.